Welcome to Takeaways, Life Lessons Learned. I've got two guests today. This is a recurring theme, a very good theme. I'm going to introduce Age Before Beauty. Michael Green, CCIM, is a graduate of the University of Michigan.
Go Blue.
There it is. I was waiting for it. I paused for it. So you studied there and received a Bachelor's of Administration with an emphasis in finance from the Ross School of Business. Is that prestigious to say?
It is. It wasn't Ross back then, but then Mr. Ross of the related companies donated hundreds of millions of dollars to the Ross School of Business and the athletic department. So now it's pretty
now it's on your resume.
It's top, one of the top in the country.
Awesome. Prior to beginning your career in commercial real estate, dude, I can't talk today. Commercial real estate. You spent over 18 years in corporate finance, investment banking, private equity, investor relations across the gaming, real estate, and lodging industries, completing over $10 billion of transaction value. Did you know that about him?
I did not know that about him, but when you said billion, I was just...
Billion. Corporate finance, investment banking, private equity, investor relations. Is that all one kind of a thing? Or are those all separate things?
All separate.
Elaborate a bit on some of that.
Investment banking. So you're helping companies think about how to grow or how to merge. So equity offerings, debt offerings, M&A, really whatever the company needs to grow, or just advise them on stock buyback programs, capitalization. A lot of fun stuff.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
All right. You joined MDL Group in 2018, and since then have played an integral role in growing MDL's office team into one of the top performing office teams in the Las Vegas market. I would agree with that. You're known for your strong financial acumen, as evidenced by your beautiful answer just now. You leverage your expertise when advising clients on sale purchases and leases of office products. You remain committed to delivering strategic, data-driven solutions that help clients achieve exceptional results and maximize value. It's pretty strong.
Yeah. About right.
Sounds really good.
All right, let's get into Jerdin.
It is really good.
I've never said that.
It just sounds, but it is.
It sounds good because it is good. It's true and it's good. Mr. Jerdin Lindquist. Did I say it right? How do you say it?
Jerdin Lindquist. You hit it right on the head.
You're an associate here at MDL Group. You have 10 years of customer service experience from some of Las Vegas's most luxurious resorts. Explain.
So before this, I got into the industry. I started actually in lifeguarding and EMT work, and I was lifeguarding at Encore Beach Club over at the Wynn, and we got all the perks of the Wynn, so you got to learn all of their different 5-star, 5-diamond resort techniques, and I went over to Caesar's Palace as well, so I got to work at some of the nicest places here in town before I eventually got into the food and beverage side of it, started popping around doing that, so it was a lot of fun.
Was it food or beverage or both?
It was mostly beverage. There was some food along the way, but I tried to stay away from it. It's not as fun.
All right, I'll continue. If I could find my place here. You are deeply dedicated to getting to... Sorry, no, that's not the right place. You believe in the power of building lifelong relationships with your clients. Is that a 5-star technique?
It is absolutely a 5-star technique.
Deeply dedicated to getting to know your clients' businesses, applying market knowledge, and securing the perfect spaces for their businesses to grow and prosper.
Mm-hmm.
You're currently an undergraduate student at UNLV.
Almost done, though.
Almost. When are you done?
One more semester. That's
it. So it's spring of 2026?
Well, I got a couple summer classes, but...
Spring, summer of 2026?
That's right.
You'll have a diploma?
Yes, sir.
You'll have a Bachelor's of Business Administration with a focus on real estate and marketing.
Yes, sir.
All right. While you're doing commercial real estate, going to school, you're also very active with the American Marketing Association, Rebel Venture Fund, the Real Estate Business Society at UNLV.
Yes, sir.
Did I miss any?
No.
You know he was this active?
I didn't. I know he's a good family man.
We're going to ask about family in a meeting and talk about yours. I'm going to ask you about yours, and you can talk about yours too. All right. Beyond professional life, you're volunteering for environmental causes with Climate Action Nevada, actively supporting All Life Women's Medical Center, hitting the gym.
You want...
I'm
Okay.
doing flex. If you're listening and not watching, I'm flexing at Jerdin. So you flex back. You love Lake Mead, enjoying the beauty of Lake Mead, skiing the slopes of Tahoe, traveling with your family. What did I miss?
No, that pretty much sums it up.
All right.
Traveling.
Let me officially welcome you both to Takeaways, Mr. Green and Jerdin.
Happy to be here.
I'm happy that you're here. All right. Green, tell me in your own words, who are you and what do you do?
From a business perspective,
Yeah, I mean, how would you answer the question if someone's like, oh, tell me about yourself?
I work.
Who are you and what do you do?
I work in commercial real estate. I focus primarily on the office segment. Help building owners become business owners, or business owners become building owners. It's from an old Massimo thing. And just really love focusing on the sale aspect of it, helping clients unlock their potential value of what they either have or looking to add to their portfolio.
And you have family?
I do have a family.
Let's hear about them.
My wife, Molly, is amazing.
Yeah, I agree.
She's the rock of the family. Taught me a lot since we've been together about 10 years. I've got an older daughter, Tabby, who is my ride or die when it comes to anything sports related. And I have a 5-year-old Lainey who is just spitfire and keeps me busy.
And Tabby's quite an athlete herself.
She is. She plays soccer and currently she's playing flag football for her high school.
Which is more entertaining to watch as a parent? Soccer or flag football?
Flag football.
It's pretty fun.
Yeah.
We've seen videos of her scoring touchdowns. All right, Mr. Jerdin.
Yes,
Tell
sir.
me in your own words, who are you and what do you do?
That's a good question. I actually was thinking about that a lot recently, just because I haven't had a whole lot of time recently between school and work. And as soon as the semester ended, I found myself okay, what do I want to do? And I spent a lot of time with my family, and then I immediately called up two of my best friends, and we went and caught the Monday night football game. So first and foremost, I'm a family man and I'm a friends man. Goes along with the relationships aspect. I get almost all my enjoyment out of spending time with my family. Outside of that, I do love this business. I really enjoy helping clients grow their business, and you almost always need a space to do that. In fact, someone very wise recently told me I can't sell my business because I don't technically have owned the place and my lease is up in a year. And then you start to realize where you do business is just as important as your business.
Wow.
And so I've been enjoying this part of commercial real estate now for about 3 years and looking forward to continuing in it.
Tell me about your family.
My family. So I've got my wonderful wife, Ashley. She is a teacher over in Henderson, right next to where we live. I believe one of your kids went to school there?
That's correct.
Yeah, at Vanderburg Elementary School. My children go there as well. I've got a beautiful daughter named Summer. She's 11 years old now. She loves gymnastics. And then I've got my wonderful son, JJ. He's 9, and he does everything, whether it's jujitsu, football, basketball. He loves doing it all. And I will touch base. It is much more fun to watch flag football. I'm with you 100%. I love going to my daughter's gymnastics meets, but we're there for 5 hours and she maybe competes for 5 minutes of them. And like the football games, it's nonstop for 2 hours. You go home.
In and out.
In and out.
And what about jujitsu?
Jiu-jitsu's a blast too, but it's a little bit longer. It's just like
Does he compete?
gymnastics. He did. Yeah, he hasn't been doing it for a while. Football's kind of gained his heart of this last year and a half. He did the fall and he did the spring before that, and now he's doing spring again.
So I bring all 3 of my kids they have all their respective activities. My son recently got into jujitsu and he caught the jujitsu bug.
Mm-hmm.
Tries to choke me all the time. Good thing I'm still bigger than him.
Is he successful at all?
Yeah. So if you guys are interested, I'll tell you the couple jujitsu stories. So he started taking private lessons with another friend of ours and his son. So the two of them, they're both about the same age, same size. World champion jiu-jitsu competitor comes over and just gives them one-on-one instruction, basically. Wow. So probably the 3rd or 4th lesson. So we go to my friend's house. They have mats, whatever. So they were going to be out of town. Instructor was coming to our house. We got some mats. So now we have mats at our house. So he gets his lesson and then we get into it one night. We're just rolling around. My extent of jiu-jitsu knowledge comes from being a fan of UFC since UFC 1. I've watched it. I've never applied it, but I understand like what they're doing and, here and there, just over the years, hearing the commentators. I've got an enormous size advantage over my son, which is very good. So we're rolling around I'm pretty sure I got him. I think I got him in a guillotine and he tapped out. He was mad, really mad about it. Next time, got the nephews over. They're a little younger and smaller than him. They're also in mixed martial arts. So it's like fair game, right? You don't have to like, dude, don't do that. You're going to hurt him. No, they're all having fun. They know their control, where to push boundaries, where to not push boundaries. So they're all going at it. So I go in like, all right, time to stop. Got to, move on to the next activity, whatever we were doing. And so he doesn't want to stop. So he and I get to start rolling. And I got him in position. He gets out of a position and I just sort of like, I'm rolling around. Like he's not going to do anything to me. But sure as shit, he got me in a choke, a full on and like quick, like, and now I'm like, oh my God, I don't know what to do or what's going to happen. All I know is I'm not tapping. I know I need to get his wrist, but I can't find his wrist under my neck. And he's choking and like it hurts. And now I'm starting to think, when do I go out? I don't know. Like I've never been choked out before. Am I just is it going to turn off? All these like conscious thoughts. And then I hear my wife screaming from the kitchen. Scuttle got out, our dog. I just put him in the crate like maybe 20 minutes before that. I'm like, how did he get out? How did Scuttle get out? All these things I'm thinking about. And then all of a sudden I hear myself go, it's all these little noises. And then I don't know if it was that or what, but he ended up letting go. He either like burned out his arms because he was choking and not finishing and he had to like kind of let go, or the noises scared him and he let go. I don't know. On the way up, I bit my tongue. So for the whole week, I had like a bruised tongue. And it turns out my wife wasn't yelling Scuttle got out. She was so concerned at my face being purple. She was yelling, tap out, tap out. That's he got pretty close, but not yet. I didn't tap out and I didn't get choked out. Thank God.
UFC 1, huh?
Yeah. I remember I was in high school and we'd go to a friend's house and there was either a VHS that they had of it. And then it was like, you had to figure out where and how to watch the pay-per-views, but since the very first.
That's amazing.
Yep. So it was, the history, the Gracie family and how they put Hoist Gracie. And so my friend was here on one of these podcast episodes and we talked about, he managed Tito Ortiz once in his life. He was his attorney. I would maybe not manager, but did some legal work for him. So we went up to Oakland for one of these other leagues. Tito was like there to kind of promote. He never really fought in that league, but in the lobby of the hotel, I saw him Hoist Gracie. And I was like, so starstruck. Like a babbling buffoon. I'm like, do you think I could get a picture of him? I got a picture with him. It's pretty cool.
Did he try to tap you out too?
No, he was very gracious and stood there for a picture, did the little fist up as you would expect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was nice. Next time you're around Nathan, be careful because he can.
I know.
I know you have a wrestling background, but he might get your neck or your arm.
I'm old. I don't do that stuff anymore.
You wrestled?
All right.
Middle school. My dad and my brother both wrestled, so
it's awesome.
I had to protect myself.
You're learning a lot about each other.
Didn't like the singlet, but it is what it is.
Do they still wear those?
I don't know. I haven't seen a boys wrestling match in a long time. They do in college.
I'm not gonna. I think there's a joke in there, but we're gonna continue.
Singlet. Is that the outfit?
Yeah, the tight shorts.
I think they do. Pretty sure.
Don't know. What I do know is I talk about the two of you a lot. And that's why I thought it'd be cool to have you both on. I use you guys as an example when I talk to either young people that are asking me about, hey, how do I get into the industry? Or if I get asked, from people transitioning, either residential or whatever, whenever they ask about commercial real estate, I feel like Michael Green comes up. I tell them about you and I share your story as after almost 20 years in another industry, made a transition. And I talk about you and how we went from you were actually sitting in that chair. We met at a job fair, but then you were sitting in that chair and like, how do I get in this industry? And I said, there's two paths and you jumped on one and you've been here and you've been crushing it. So I want each of you to take me through your lives up to the point where you got into commercial real estate.
You can go first this time.
That's fair. I was actually thinking about when you were talking about sitting in that chair, you had me go catalog a building. You said, I need this done. You didn't need it done. Did you ever even look at that?
I don't remember what building it was. Which
I-
building was it? I
was
probably
way
needed
out
it.
in the Northwest. It was Memorial Day
I
week.
think I probably did. Yeah, I don't think I would have sent you to some random building if there wasn't something behind it. I recall vaguely. So someone probably called me and I needed eyes on the property and I said, "Hey, do you want to help on this?"
Mm-hmm.
And then you did. That's the whole lesson here is that you did it.
I felt really weird going inside a random office building on a Saturday, just knocking on doors, seeing which businesses were belonged where. But that was
There's a lot
well
of
done.
weird in this business if you want to be successful.
Very, very much so.
But before all hour, that's like the after.
Right.
Take me through your life before, right up to when you decided, I think I want to get into commercial real estate.
Okay. So grew up here. Technically born in St. George, but we were here as young as I could possibly remember. Me and my parents, we bounced around quite a bit here in the Las Vegas Valley. I went to 3 different middle schools, 4 different elementary schools, and 1 high school ultimately. So we did well there.
Which high school?
Boulder City.
Okay.
Boulder City. And that was a really
Go
cool
Eagles,
experience.
right?
Go Eagles. That was such a culture shock when we first moved to that little town. It's right here, right next to us, but the whole town like shows up for Friday night for the football games, and it was very different, even though it was right over the hill. It was a great little town, though. I really enjoyed those last few years there. Got to ride dirt bikes right out of your garage. It's just a different culture, but as soon as I was old enough to kind of go out on my own, I hopped over into Vegas as quickly as I could and started working in the industry. Wanted to be a firefighter, but I came out in 2007 out of high school, and everybody was like, "Go get your EMT basic, and you'll get hired tomorrow." And then 2008 happened, and there were 5,000 of us in line for 5 positions in front of the city of Las Vegas at 5 in the morning.
Wow.
So a lot changed really quickly, but I still had that EMT certification. I was a lifeguard from a young age at 16, and so I was doing that for the city of Henderson, and I found a job at Encore Beach Club. Encore Beach Club picked me up, and I was there for a couple of seasons, and I started getting more involved in the beverage side of it.
What did you do in the off season when the pool was closed?
I worked, mainly I volunteered to try and get a job on the rig because it was hard to get a job on the ambulances at that time, especially with only a basic. They wanted you to have your intermediate or they wanted you to be a paramedic, but they didn't want you to go straight from your basic to paramedic without getting some experience on the rig. So I was doing that in the off season. And then as soon as I turned 21, I found out that they had EMT security at Caesar's Palace and it paid a lot more than the rig. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to go do that. And then while at the same time, I was still doing the stuff during the summertime at Encore Beach Club.
What's EMT security?
So you're EMT. So just like on the rig, you know, you have an emergency medical technician, but you're under the security department. You can do security stuff, but they really don't like to use you for it. You mainly show up for
what's on your uniform when you're showing up for work?
It has an EMT badge, and you go and there are backpacks placed all around Caesar's Palace where you go and you get your medical supplies whenever there's an emergency, or 9 times out of 10, it's a slip and fall, to be honest with you, and a lot of employee injuries that you fill out the reports and you send them to Concentra. But that's where I got some FaceTime with the beverage managers at Caesars from those employee injuries. And they were telling me about bar backing, and I was going to go do their bar back work at their pool at Caesars Palace. But then someone scooped me up and took me over to Harrah's. I was over at Harrah's for a few years. And then after Harrah's, I actually got picked up by a bar that was opening up inside of Harrah's, but they were owned by another entity, but they had to take so many from inside because of the union contract. And that ended up being an amazing job. And that was like a daiquiri bar that was just easy money. It was a really good time. And then all of this is going on while I'm doing all this. I'm bouncing around from nightclub to nightclub in the industry outside of Encore Beach Club. But those are very seasonal gigs and they're very high hit and miss. Getting like a permanent full-time position in a nightclub is very sought after and hard to get in this town. But yeah, and so I was doing that, and then COVID happened, and so that was 6 months off where you got to reevaluate things. And
Could we go back a second?
Yeah.
2 questions. 1, did you ever have to pump someone's stomach from eating too much in the EDR?
No.
And what's the craziest thing you saw on the EMT side?
How visual can we get on this podcast?
Go crazy.
So we had a gentleman who met some ladies of the night at the bar. We had this all on recording. And so he for whatever reason, decided to go up into his room.
Tell me they took his kidney. Please tell me they took his
They didn't take his kidney, but they took his wallet.
Oh, no, sorry. I don't want to interrupt if it wasn't the kidney.
No.
Go back to your...
No, you pretty
So
much...
they took them up. He took them up to
his room. And then not even 20 minutes later, you see two of them coming. They come running out, and they run down, and they press the button for the elevator. And then all of a sudden, he comes running out in a towel, just flying down, trying to go after them. He gets the elevator, gets his hand in the elevator, opens it, and they're going back and forth, exchanging some words. And then she rips the towel off of him and pepper sprays his body parts.
Oh.
And then obviously he immediately hits the floor. For some reason, he decided to come down into the lobby to still chase after them after this happened. And I got a call of a random man naked in the bathroom and doing weird things in the sink. And sure enough, I showed up and there were body parts in our sink and he was washing himself off.
From the pepper spray.
From the pepper spray.
So how do you treat something like that?
You don't.
Carefully with gloves.
You
call the junior guy.
No, therapy actually is what I recommend. So it's one of the crazier things. And I mean, we did have real medical emergencies. We did CPR more than once in that establishment. So, it varied. It was one of the funnest jobs I ever had in my life. I actually don't think I've ever had a bad job, but that one was up there. I met some great people along the way too.
At what point did you meet your wife?
God, that was 2012. I was at my friend's apartment complex, and he lived in this apartment complex, and it turns out she lived there too. Her whole family lived in that apartment complex. They all come from New York, but one moved and the entire family moved. I was amazed at the fact that not all in one apartment. They all just lived in the same complex. They all migrated out here together. They were all at the hot tub one evening, and I was with my best friend and his wife and a few other people, and we went out to the pool, and I saw my wife straight across in the hot tub, and I went over and talked to her, and we ended up sitting in that hot tub until 5 a.m.
Like hot tub time machine?
God, wouldn't that be cool?
All right, so keep going. UNLV, commercial real estate.
Oh, yeah. So came back from COVID, and I learned a lot during COVID. I learned that I didn't want to rely on someone else for a job. So I was like, okay, what do I do? And I started taking one class at a time and for school. And then I started picking up steam, and I was like, oh, hey, I don't know if it was easier than I remembered, but I wasn't the best student in high school, but I actually had some drive to do it. And so I was going through that. And then right around 2022 is when we got the word that bar was going to be closing. They offered to put me over at another one of the locations, and I took the chance to pivot. My wife was done with her master's degree and said, I can take this on for a little while financially. So I decided to go back to school full time. And then real estate, quite frankly, wasn't on my mind. I kept going through the school, and we have a really good real estate program. And so I got more and more associated with that. I started going to Rebs, and then I went to that expo.
What is Rebs?
Rebs is the Real Estate Business Society over at UNLV. Very, very popular program.
So walk me through your student experience. You're there you're signed up in the business school for a marketing degree.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get exposure to Rebs?
It's probably the most predominant student organization inside of the business school at UNLV. An argument could be made for AMA and Rebel Venture Fund when we're done with it. But Rebs definitely has the prominence on campus. I never got involved in the leadership of it, but I went to a couple of meetings and I was like, this is interesting. Got to meet some great, the students there are the brightest in the business school by far. I mean, not that all the students at UNLV aren't bright, but
sorry, you could say what you said.
The students in Rebs are very gifted. They are all very driven, and they have done an amazing job with that program.
And so, are you in one-on-one classes, and a representative from these groups come in and talks about the groups and how you can get involved? Are you walking through the student union and there's a table how does an organization like any of the ones that you mentioned, Rebs included, get exposure and access to the students and vice versa?
I mean, there's a lot of different ways they do it.
How did it happen for you?
So I was just talking to people. I enjoy talking to people, and 9 times out of 10, that's where I find my information. So that's when I heard about that one, and AMA and Rebel Venture Fund, and I just kind of went on the circuit. Then look it up on your phone, and it'll say, social media or on the website, this is where we meet, when we meet, and you go and you stop in and you say hello.
Awesome.
And so that one, again, Rebs I just showed up a couple of times and I got my feet wet, but then almost immediately after is when I heard about the expo. And then that's when I went to the expo and I met.
So what year in school are you when you go to the expo? You're a freshman still, or you're a sophomore at this point?
Technically, I would have been a sophomore. I ended up adding a few more classes along the way because of a couple minors, but yeah, I would have been a sophomore.
Sorry, before you talk about the expo, how is Rebs different or the same or related to the LEAD Institute at UNLV for Real Estate Studies? LEAD being LIED. Do you have a sense or no?
What do you mean by how are they connected?
Is one a club and one is a curriculum, or?
It's definitely not a curriculum. It very is closely associated with the curriculum, and that is the real estate degree, the Business of Administration real estate focus. But it's not its own curriculum. It's more just a place where people get together, and very often they have people come in and from within the industry, and they go on tours. So
got it. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
You said something I want to go back to. You didn't want to rely on someone else for a job.
Yeah.
Walk me through that.
So when you work for it's really interesting, right? Because there are two different thoughts in life. We actually were talking about this not that long ago, but some people find a lot of security in working in a big firm and, devoting their life to that. They feel that is where their comfort is. I kind of feel the opposite. I felt like the comfort is in getting the skills and being out there and building something for yourself. My mindset is that if it doesn't work out, you still gather those same skills and you can apply them in another area one day. So I've always felt like I wanted to rely on myself. And I feel like when someone employs me, not that there's anything wrong with being an employee, but it feels like I'm beholden to them and they have a lot of say over my future. And so I got a taste of that during COVID. We're closing down. You guys didn't close during COVID, did you?
No, we were essential.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. We were defined as essential workers, weren't we? Yeah. No, we did what everyone did, which was we closed for a very short period to quote unquote flatten the curve, if you remember that.
Mm-hmm.
It was like 2 weeks. And then we came back to the office in like, what was it called? There's a term for it, like only a few people at a time from the departments. What was it called? Like rotating shift. It wasn't that. Like some people worked from home that day. Some people came in that day. But soon enough, pretty much everyone came back in. The idea like we're sitting here in my office. What's the difference if I'm sitting here by myself in my office or sitting at home? It was the same thing. But there was something about the routine of waking up, getting yourself ready as a professional, going to the office. So that was mostly what happened here for us. But you're right. We were real estate was defined as essential. So we were able to do that without fear of whatever was there, pressure or legal or otherwise. So then you went to the job fair at UNLV.
Job fair.
So the real estate, it's the LEAD organizes a job fair for companies like ours, real estate companies. There's developers that come, some lenders that come, whoever else. It's all of our colleagues here in the industry and students who are interested in careers in real estate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had no idea what to expect going into that. I didn't know if we were sitting in on seminars or kind of what was going on. So I walked in and very quickly realized that this is like almost like speed dating.
It's set up like a speed dating where the candidates have their resume and they sit across from you and 30 seconds or however long they give you, and you kind of do your elevator pitch and they do theirs. And if you want to follow up later, you follow up later. That's the format. But you had no idea coming into that was the format.
Had no idea.
Did you have a resume?
I did have a resume. I knew to bring it.
You did that, okay.
But I thought we would kind of just be hanging out and sitting, and then you'd walk up to people and meet people one at a time and have a really long conversation with them if you were able to kind of build that chemistry. But no, it was speed dating. It's funny. I don't know if I've ever told you this, but they pointed over and they told me where to go. I was one of the last ones in there. And I went to the wrong table. I was supposed to go to MDL group first, but I actually went to the one right next to it. So there were 4 of us at that table rather than 3. They later separated us. But yeah, so I actually went to the one right next to you guys, which made you guys my last stop at the very end of it. And so the first one, I absolutely sloppy. Like, again, had no idea what I was
You're
going
like,
into.
your whole brain is trying to orient, like, what
Right.
is even happening? What am I supposed to say? How do I say it?
Exactly. But I think this is probably from bartending. You get like a rhythm really
Yeah.
quickly. And so by the 3rd or 4th table, okay, I know what to say and I know how quickly to say it. And then by the 10th time, the 5th, I mean, there were like 40 tables that day. They filled up that entire conference room, the entire border of it. And so again, just kept going through it. And then at the
Do
very
you
end,
speak to every company?
every single one. And it's,
Do you have to?
yeah. Yes.
Yeah, you could skip around, but that's not the
Right.
that's not the format.
It's a
Yeah.
lot of,
It's a lot. It's a
Well-
lot on both sides.
yeah.
But same thing, like, so on the other side of the table, you have to figure out the same sort of rhythm and pattern and what questions, and you don't know the personality on this. Some are more extroverts, some are more introverts, some are, much more socially inclined, some are not at all. As some are there, it's like, you shouldn't even be here. It's just, they're just not a fit for what's happening in the room.
Is it all real estate related?
Relate.
The companies in the room are all real estate
Okay.
related, but then some of the students are like, it could be like, yeah, someone told me I should come here. I don't know why I'm here. I don't know what this is. Not a lot. I will credit the team. Like, we've done this for many years. MDL Group has participated in this for many years. And it's gone from, like, I remember Rod Martin with Majestic and I were sitting across from each other at one of these things. And it's like, Rod, why are you here? Like, do you actually hire people? He goes, no, I'm here like to help. And it's like, not a charity. I don't want to use that word, but you're there really. I'm not getting anything as an employer. That was then. Now, I mean, you're sitting here because of that. And like, we're forever grateful for it.
I'm forever grateful. I wish I could remember his name. I got sat next to a young man, like right from the get-go, really curly hair, wanted to actually be in law. And he was telling me, he was just kind of giving me the lowdown, like, which ones do you want, right? And he said, MDL Group and Logic is who you want to go to.
Yeah, I think his name was Seth.
And
I remember you said curly hair. I think that was him.
But that changed it forever. Because I got to MDL Group. And at the very end, I was sitting across from Jared, I believe. And then Desiree was right there in the middle. And then I believe you were on the end. And I had a great conversation with Jared. But then at the very end, that was just kind of it. And then I'm sitting over at another table when we were done. And I was talking to you. I don't know how we...
So Jared said, go talk to this guy. He's like us.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, well, Jared comes from a hospitality background too. I think that's kind of where we started to connect in that quick interview. Was he said he came from the nightclub, Studio 54. I was like, I worked in nightclubs many times as a bartender. And then we started talking about kids and family. It turns out my wife teaches at the school where his kids go to. So it just kind of flowed from there. And then I had the pleasure of speaking with you. And then we had some lunch and you said, come talk to us.
Yep.
And I came and talked to you.
All right, we'll put a pin in it. We'll pick it up from there. Mr. Green.
Yes, sir.
Take me through your life up until when you decided to get into commercial real estate. Crazy mofo.
Yeah, it's a long story, but all right, here we go. Born and raised in New York. Just average household growing up. I have an older brother, 3 years. He tortured me all the time. But that's what brothers do, right? Big sports fanatic. If I was not doing schoolwork, I was playing sports. Didn't matter what it was, or attending live sporting events. I've always loved that. I still to this day, if there's a live sporting event, I don't care what it is. If I have a ticket, I'm going. I mean, I took my dad to curling after the U.S. won the curling gold medal a couple of years ago. I mean, that's how dedicated that is. I mean, rugby, I'll go to anything. I just love the environment. I love it. Kind of don't play as much as I wish I could. I'm injury prone, plus my wife would kill me if I got injured again. So I kind of took that out of the repertoire. Anyway, so sports, big part of my life.
Where in New York?
Grew up in Roslyn on the North Shore of Long Island. So, yeah.
I learned to ask that by hanging out with you. New York, you have to ask, where in New York are you from? And then there's this whole geography game based on the answer.
You whittle it down, you figure out. I mean, it's a big state, right? But most people know the different geographies of where people live.
Mm-hmm.
Like your
Yeah.
family
Yeah, they're all very quick to tell you, from New York, but they're very quick to follow up with where in New York, whether it's Queens or Brooklyn or Long Island. And then they'll break it down even further. It's Manhasset or it's Jamaica, Queens, so they like big place. I get it.
Yeah. I don't know, I don't know why people do that. Like in Vegas, it's like I just live in Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
Henderson, Summerlin, but that's about it.
Right.
Took my love of sports and academics. I went to the University of Michigan. Go Blue, like you said earlier, best college there is in the world, in my honest opinion.
Why'd you pick Michigan, coming from New York?
I had a cousin who went there. I went to visit,
Mm-hmm.
and it checked the boxes for everything. It had great academics. It had great sports, great social environment. It was it still is a very popular school, but I graduated with a class of 180 kids, and 12 of us went to Michigan from my high school.
Wow.
Including one of my best friends who had the same dorm room right next to me.
Wow. Okay.
It checked all the boxes.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it there. It's like you get indoctrinated when you go there.
Okay.
It goes in your veins. It goes in your veins. And you're just like hardcore.
Okay.
The vast majority of the people.
Did you go to every football game?
Every football game, every basketball game, every hockey game.
That's amazing.
Just it's what you do.
It still goes back.
Every year. Sometimes
for at least one game?
Sometimes twice.
Nice.
If you're not in the library studying or at the fraternity house or hanging out, like you're at a sporting event, or you play sports, right? You get the best of both worlds, playing in football football practice facility for flag football finals, a lot of fun stuff.
Which fraternity?
I was in Phi Delta Theta. So it was a weird issue because historically or nationally, I don't think it's very Jewish. There was
Wait, you're Jewish?
Yes, just a little bit. Not as much as you, but just a little bit. There was a ZBT on campus, and they got kicked off. And then all the brothers went to Triangle, which was an engineering fraternity. And then they left there, and they all went to Phi Delta and kind of just took it over. Subsequently, Phi Delta ZBT came back, and everyone went back to ZBT. So, but yeah, so I focused, sports, traveled for games. When I was at college, we'd go to a lot of away games, whatever we could do. Spent a lot of time in Chicago, very close friends from Chicago. So if I wasn't home for the holidays, I'd spend a lot of time in the North Shore, north suburbs of Chicago. Still go back to visit friends there. It's a great place. But, my interest was in finance. And so I'm a math and science person. English, just not. Anyway. So yeah, I can't even speak. And so, finance was what I really focused on. So I was lucky enough to get into the undergraduate business school. You go to 2 years and then you would apply to get in. They've changed it subsequently. So I didn't know what I wanted to do in finance, but I just knew that was something I wanted to do. Back then, so this is the late 90s, the popular thing was investment banking. So I said, all right, let me try investment banking. And so I was lucky enough to get an internship at Bear Stearns between my junior and senior year. Very intense. What they say about investment banking is true, even if you're a summer intern. Long nights, working 5, 6, 7 days a week, sleeping at the office, all that fun stuff. Lived in NYU dorms for the summer and just had a real great experience. I mean, they wine and dine you and take you to events to try to convince you that this is the place because they're investing in you. You're investing in them. Subsequently, 2 weeks after I left, I got a job offer before my senior year of college started. I said, let me think about it. And I called them back in a week and said, I'll take it. Because I didn't want to have to worry about finding a job in my senior year, making that a full-time position. And so that's what I did. Wasn't my first job. I mean, I had a couple other small jobs before that in high school, but this was exciting. So graduate, a couple of us traveled after college for a little bit. One of the better experiences of my life was 4 weeks backpacking through Europe. Just saw everything. I mean, this was before phones, before really the internet. So it was just 6 of us traveling around Europe for a month and Didn't know where you were
What's
going to
like one
stay.
memory that stands out from that trip still?
There's not one. I mean, there's so many. You just didn't know where you were staying. So you got like this photo's book, and we would rotate, be like, Green, go find us a hotel in Bordeaux. And you didn't know what you were getting. And so, with it being men, it wasn't as, safety wasn't a big issue. If like my daughter said she wanted to do this, it's different times, but I would have a little bit hesitation. But there's 6 of us. Some more met us halfway. But there's so many. So that night, Bordeaux, like we stayed in a hotel room that cost less than my McDonald's dinner that night, because I tried McDonald's in all different countries just to test out. And you just didn't know what it was. So I have a picture of me and my buddies sleeping in the same bed when it's literally like this. We're literally touching each other and 2 feet after the bed is the shower. I mean, that was kind of sad.
You're probably one of the last generations that got to experience that, like truly going into the unknown.
Yeah.
When you booked that, now everybody's got smartphones.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, I met someone or met people on the trip that I'm going to be in here in 2 weeks. Meet me up, and you'd like email them from a internet cafe where you have to go to pay to use the internet, and you'd send them a message, and you'd go. You might be 3 days before you hear back from them because they didn't get a cafe. So it was a different experience.
That's cool.
So went back, worked at Bear Stearns for 3 years, investment banking. My mindset behind what group I picked is if I'm going to work these crazy hours, at least it better be fun. The summer before, I did industrial. So I was looking at a lot of like train railroad companies, coal mines, coal pits, and that just wasn't going to be interesting to me for the amount of time I was going to work. So they kind of do a pairing. You rotate for about 6 months through different groups, and then you kind of pick and you get paired, kind of like a fraternity, sorority, or whatnot. So the group that I was most interested in, focus on, was their group called Regal, which was real estate, gaming, lodging, and leisure. Did not do a lot of real estate. Most of it was gaming and a little bit of lodging and a teeny bit of leisure. Like,
what years was this?
This is 2000 to 2003.
Okay.
So leisure was, like cruise ships, Vail, ski resorts, but mostly it was gaming. Like I said, if I figured I'm going to be working crazy hours, let me just kind of work. So it was great. I mean, I wouldn't do it as a career. That's why I left. But for 3 years out of college, I'm never going to work harder than in my entire life than I did those 3 years. So that instilled a good, base for me of work ethic. I mean, I saw it from my dad. My dad was a salesman. He would go to work every day, be home by 2 or 3, go to our sporting events. We'd have dinner, and then he'd go to work that night, 3 or 4 hours that night. So I saw what it takes to be successful. And this was the same. There was ups and downs. There was great moments. There was terrible moments in it. When I did leave, I told people I would never do this again, and I'd rather chew glass and be thrown down a flight of stairs. That's just how mentally, breaking it is sometimes.
What was like an average day for you?
9 a.m. to 1 a.m., 16 hours.
Wow.
So everyone's there, who works 9 to 5. That's my half day.
Wow. And what are you doing during that day?
So a lot of it is, if you think about it, I'm the grunt, the runt.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's all relationship driven. Just like in real estate, MDL Group, Logic, CBR, we can all do the same thing, right? We can all do a transaction. It's who do you enjoy working with? What do you have those relationships with many years, right? It's relationship driven. So the MDs who are working throughout the day, they're calling, for example, there's a guy in the Regal Group, he's calling all the casino companies and talking to Wynn, which didn't exist back then. That's how old I am. But he's calling Caesars, he's calling Mandalay Bay, which was before MGM, and saying, hey, like, what are you thinking? Like, what do you need? And they're like, well, we're thinking about potentially buying a company. What do you recommend? It's like, well, let me look at it. So he's working throughout the day. I'm trying to get that. And 3, 4 o'clock, he comes in and says, all right, we got this deal we got to work on. So he'll call me and say, all right, look, we got a Maristar right here. We want to look at what it would look like if you bought Boyd.
Oh, wow.
So how about you give me something tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon? So you take a blank Excel spreadsheet, You pull out all the financials for Boyd. You put all the financials for Ameristar. You build a model, balance sheet, cash flow statement, income statement. Got to make sure it all flows and everything. Got to build it properly. And then you layer in them buying Boyd. But how are they going to buy Boyd? Is it going to be in stock? It's going to be bonds. It's going to be like combination. So all these iterative models. And so you spend all night working this, and then they come in and they shit all over it. And then you got to do it all over again. And, or it's, hey, we're going to go raise money, right? So what does it look like for our company if we go and sell, 150 shares, 150 million shares?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if we have equity, what can we do with that? Is it going to break any of our covenants? Are we going to touch any of those items? And, make sure that we're in compliance.
Wow.
Or we can go and say, let's go raise $800 million in debt, and we're going to do a revolver and 2 tranches of debt. What does that look like for our thing?
I'm surprised you were able to get out by 1 a.m. That sounds like more of a 3 a.m.
There were plenty of nights where I slept at the office. So keep in mind, you asked average. That was average. It was 16 hours.
Wow.
I once worked 57 straight hours.
Wow.
I've never done that.
It's not fun. And I almost have a mental breakdown after that. But everyone was doing it, right? I had a roommate from high school, from college. We lived in the city, Manhattan. He worked at Lehman Brothers. I never saw him. My other buddy worked also at Lehman Brothers. I mean, doing the same thing in just different departments. You're young, you're in the city, you feel invincible, you can work all the time and then just hang out. So it's tough. I wouldn't do it now as an adult.
Mm-hmm. But those are like your formative years.
Yeah, you learn more than you'll ever learn in college. I mean, there were smart guys. Like I remember one guy in my class is from Yale. Obviously, he's smart. But Yale, they don't offer a lot of the classes that like I took or you might take. They had like 1 accounting class and 1 finance class. So he had to learn not just how to model, but he had to learn finance on the job. So they give you training. Like when you get there, you have 6 weeks of training, modeling. They take away your mouse so you don't have to use your mouse on Excel. And they teach you the fundamentals of accounting and finance, all that kind of stuff. So they train you and then they throw you to the wolves.
And then 3 years later, you say, I'd rather chew glass than
You throw down a flight of stairs.
Yeah, all right, fair enough.
So that's 3 years in. A boss of mine who I work with in the capital markets left to become the CFO of a casino company out here and said, Michael, I need you. They were running their company model on a tab monthly. They were publicly traded and did not know how to forecast. They just couldn't do it successfully. And he said, look, this was March. He's like, I need you to come out to Vegas. I was like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. All my friends, all my family live in New York. I'm not coming to Vegas. Calls me next month, couple months. I'm like, dude, I'm not coming. Just finally in July, he's like, look, I sent you a plane ticket. Come out. You have a good time. Came out here. I interviewed for 2 days with different people. The company, it was a casino company. They didn't have anything here, but they had 5 or 6 properties, but they had like 30 people in the corporate office. They might have 10,000 employees, but they had 30 people in their office. So he's like, look, he drove me to the airport and said, you have a job. I haven't spoken to anyone, but you have the job. Just think about it. Only time in my life, went back to Manhattan and made a pros and cons list. What am I doing here? And I looked down and it's like, holy shit, I'm moving to Vegas. So it was July. I moved out here in August. I didn't know a single person except my boss. And so I worked there for 4 years. I loved the entrepreneurial spirit of this company. You just did whatever you had to do and learn. So I did a lot of financial modeling. I did a lot of treasury work. I did some construction financing work. We were growing. We were building companies, building casinos. And one of the proudest things that we did was we had a casino in Biloxi in New Orleans during Katrina when the hurricane hit, 2005. And a lot of our employees got paid like prepaid debit cards were reload. Well, none of those were working because everything was shut down. And they're like, Green, figure out how we can pay our employees. Right? We had employees that had nothing to do with what they were at this job, but we were all sitting around in a conference room We were taking calls left and right with people. How do I get this service? What do I do? It was like triage. I'm trying to help our employees. We were trying to figure out how many armed guards we needed to protect the casinos so they wouldn't get looted. Like crazy shit. And so we were able to come up and figure out a way to get our employees paid. By Western Union, usually takes like 2 months. We were able to get it up in a couple weeks as these people needed resources. So 4 years there. When I first moved to Vegas, I was like, I'll be there 2 to 3 years. I'll move back to New York. 2007 comes. Another former boss of mine calls me from Bear Stearns, like, I need you back in New York. My private equity job is crushing it. Or firm, you're hired. It's like, all right. So I wanted to move back anyway. So I moved back in 2007. Went to work for a private equity company that focuses on lodging. So it was pretty interesting. We did a lot of ground up development. We did some asset management, portfolio management. And I really enjoyed what I was doing. This was a very small firm. When I joined, there was probably less than 10 people. When I left, or when it went under a couple of years later, it was 15 people. So it was pretty small. So I did that, travel around the country, looking at hotels. We did a big deal in Puerto Rico, so I was there quite a bit. But this was once again 2007. 2009 hit, and the company went under, so I got laid off, which is not fun. And at the time, my ex-wife, who was born and raised in Vegas, who Hayim used to steal Otter Pops out of her garage when he was younger.
It's a true story.
She was born and raised here. And so she said, look, I want to move back to Vegas. I said, I want to stay in New York. And she had a great job in New York. Obviously, it came to an end when the market crashed. So it was a race to who could get a job first. And she won. So we moved back to Vegas. We still had our house. I was unemployed for 9 months.
So you were in New York during the crash?
Yeah.
So when did it occur to you that the crash was the crash?
Yeah.
Probably when Bear Stearns, so I wasn't working at Bear Stearns, but during my time there, they built a new building. It was 383 Madison. It was this architectural marvel because it wasn't a full block, it was a half block, but you had the subway coming out of Grand Central underneath the so they had to put a lot of like the generators in the middle of the floor. So it was like a 70-story building, but only had 41 floors. It was this beautiful building. I think for me, I mean, I knew it was coming. You could hear it. People were getting laid off. But like the real aha moment was when JP Morgan bought Bear Stearns for $2 a share. And someone took a $2 bill and posted it like on the glass entrance to Bear Stearns. And here it is, this big, beautiful, marvelous building that you can see it on the skyline because the top just sold for $2 a share. I was like, all right.
What was the share price before?
I don't know. I can't, but I mean, 30 or 40 or 50. I mean, Bear Stearns was over 100 years old. It's one of the oldest institutions. So, there's a couple. And kind of, I was like, oh shit. I mean, we're in trouble, right? You don't see it when you're in it, but then you're like, wow. Friends at hedge funds, friends at private equity firms are getting let go, guys with great experience. And they're just, every week it was this one's closing. I got laid off. So that's a tough time. I mean, to your earlier point, the first time I was in New York was during 9/11. So that was a pretty harrowing experience. And then now here I'm for the crash. So maybe I just should not go back to New York to avoid any crisis for the rest of the country. So I moved out here in 2000. We moved back in 2009, unemployed, not a lot of jobs. My one job every day was not to be asleep on the couch when my wife came home because she would just get frustrated. I would do the same, but there wasn't a lot of opportunity. I mean, 3 hours on a Monday looking for a job, that's all you needed to do for the week because there just wasn't a lot of opportunity. Finally, I got connected with someone at IGT, slot manufacturing company, that they were looking for someone in investor relations. And as I mentioned earlier, I don't like to write. I don't like to read. And that's just not a good fit for me, but it was an opportunity. And so I took it. I got interviewed. I took it. Did that for a couple years, 4 or 5 years. I was fun. I got to travel, see a lot of the interesting, had a lot of access to upper management, writing conference call scripts, answering phone calls. Shortly after I got hired, the CFO, there's a new CEO came in April. I got hired in August. And the CFO knew he was kind of a lame duck on his way out. So he was doing investor relations as well as the person that hired me. So I got hired by the head of IR, but shortly thereafter, he moved over to be like working for the CEO. So it was me and the CFO doing investor relations, and he just didn't want to do it. So I ended up doing it. He called me in his office like, look, I don't really feel like going to the Goldman Sachs conference. You can take this one, right? I was like, sure. So we went to New York, Goldman Sachs conference. Back then, it was a lot of fireside chats, kind of similar like this. You'd sit up on the stage with the research analysts who rated the stock, and they would just ask you questions. And then there was a big audience, and they can ask you whatever you want. But I was there. It was a gaming conference, and I went after the CEO of MGM, Jim Urine. So I walk in this conference. It was me next to her. There's standing room only. And so a lot of people stuck around to hear me. That was not as informative as Jim Urine. But did that for a couple of years. And once again, I wanted to find something else. I got recruited then by a small boutique investment banking firm based out of Vegas. So back to really what I love doing. And a lot of projects. We worked on a lot of companies on the Strip. We looked at a lot of companies all over the country, all over the world, doing advisory. So I spent a lot of time on the road. Been to more casinos than I ever want to admit. Not just the nice ones, but some of the not nice ones on the side of the road in Kansas or Missouri, where there are little Native American casinos where they got 20 machines. It was all about gravity models and dynamics and where you're pulling people from. I love what I was doing. I mean, worked on a project in Macau, worked on a project in Toronto, in the Middle East. I mean, it was a lot of fun. But for me, the culture just wasn't a fit for multiple reasons. And I've worked with companies I mentioned small. I've worked with companies that have 40,000 people. For me, it's all about culture. And there were some promises that were made that weren't kept. And also just the environment for me just wasn't what I needed to do. So I decided to make a change.
All right, we'll put a pin in there. We'll come back to that too. Wow, 2 interesting arcs.
I thought it's interesting because we talked about the crash twice, and both of ours as like moments, and you were already in the professional world working, and so you kind of experienced what it was like beforehand versus after. And I just came out, and it was just the whole world was falling. You just couldn't get a job. It's very interesting because I knew friends that immediately went away to school, went and got business degrees, and came out, and just there was nothing. There was no work. And if you were making $9 an hour when I came out here, everybody was like, whoa, $9 an hour.
I mean, I lost my job in December of 2008.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't move back here until March of 2009. So I didn't have a job for 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking. There was no jobs in New York. There was no jobs in Vegas. And it's a little tough when you're a successful person. All of a sudden, it's nothing you did, right? And so you didn't get fired because you did something bad. It's just outside factors. And you take that upon yourself. You're like, well, I should have done this, but you couldn't do anything.
Mm-mm.
Had no bearing on what you could have done.
And I mean, your resume is stacked. You Michigan, Bear Stearns, like
didn't matter.
If you can't get a job, who's getting a job?
You're a dime a dozen at that point. Everyone's getting laid off.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Michigan, but all the guys from Harvard, all those guys who are working at DLJ and Goldman, they're getting laid off.
Well, like you said, they don't even take an accounting class.
All right, before we go into following up on your 2 stories and more into takeaways, I ask everyone the same question. I want to ask you guys this question. What's been the single most influential thing or event in your life that has shaped you the most?
Oh, that's easy. Birth of my 2 daughters. I mean, it really puts things in perspective. I mean, we both talked about, you talked a lot more than I did, but the importance of family. And at the end of the day, that's what matters to me. And so there's nothing that I wouldn't do for the 2 of them plus my wife. And seeing your children grow from, a little peanut up until who they are today. And the fact that you can try the best you can to influence them to make right choices, there's nothing better in the world.
How would you say that you have changed?
I'm a lot more patient. I'm not type A, but I like things a certain way. Very neat, very organized. Sometimes I'm a perfectionist with work and numbers and all that. You have zero control. And it's like, you just have to some extent, give in and understand that you can't control everything. And, we just played with this game, we put it away, and then we did this, we come back to it again. And it's like, can we just do it the first time, the right time? But you don't have any control. So a lot more patient. That's what I've seen from my girls.
Would you say that you were impatient before?
You have to do things a certain way.
You're particular.
Very particular. And kids don't care about that. They want to do things when they want, how they want to do it. And so for me, it's just been a learning since they've been born. But I've grown as a person. I've realized things. And so they've brought the best out of me.
Is there anything different about you between the two, the births of the two?
That happened between the two?
No, for you specifically. So you have your first kid, you're immediately changed. Is there something else maybe with the second?
No. I mean, my oldest daughter's with my ex-wife, right? So that was our first child, her first child, mine. We got divorced. We have a great relationship. And so my youngest child is with my current wife. And so while that was her first child, it was my second child, but it's still going through the same thing with her. No, nothing. I mean, nothing really that they're both different experiences, but they're both the same. They're different, but the same.
Yeah, I get it. Jerdin,
Mm-hmm.
what's been the single most influential thing or event in your life that has shaped you the most?
When you said kids, my mind immediately was just, like that is, but there actually is one before that. It's definitely when I met my wife. Many of my friends will tell you that the person I was before I met my wife versus the person I am after I met my wife are two very different people.
Can I again say something so I don't get in trouble?
Yeah.
1A would be when I met my current wife.
Okay. Okay. Solid. Yeah. Well done. Yeah. When I met my wife, I mean, you can imagine, I was a young man. I was only 22 years old and I'm living in Las Vegas and the world is, I mean, this is still only 2012. So we weren't recovering yet, but it was such an interesting time because I remember my mom and dad saying, why are you bartending? Like you got to figure out something else you got to do with your life. And nobody was making any money. It's still 2012. Everybody in business, they were all doing service industry jobs. And the food and beverage world was quite lucrative at that particular moment, especially when rent was only $200 a month. So you can imagine I'm 22 years old and I go home with more than enough to pay my rent every single night in my pocket. And then I meet my wife and that just changed, and not right away. That's why she's so pivotal in my life. She's been patient with me through all of those growth. But yeah, meeting my wife just she helped focus me, to say the least.
So to keep going on that, like what are some of the characteristics of old Jerdin as compared to new Jerdin?
I didn't have a care in the world. There was no responsibility in my mind whatsoever. I lived my life day to day, and bartending really facilitates that, right? You get cash every day. You don't know how much you're going to make, so you can literally just live your life day to day. And she started giving me direction. Here I am serving and she's already finishing up I think she graduated with her second bachelor's 6 months after we met. She's really young, already looking at her master's degree, coming right out of it. And so I started to see, okay, if I'm going to keep up with her, I got to do something. And then that's when structure and goals start forming. And then, okay, now here's the gym and I fall in love with the gym. And then here's sports. And then now I'm not going out till 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. anymore. Now I'm coming home right after work. And so just things like that. And then But between that is the kids. And when the kids come along, that's when things really start to lock down, like you said.
Interesting choice of words. Lock down.
What about for you, Hayim? What's your answer? Did anyone ever? I know you've been interviewed on this podcast, but
Yeah.
did they ask that
The
question?
genesis of this question, interestingly enough, Jared Katz, Aaron Silverman, and I went to lunch at Ginia, the one I think it's on Flamingo in Decatur. He was in town. I forgot why he was in town. This is years ago. It was before I started the podcast. So this is 2017, 2018, somewhere around there. And he asked us a version of this question. And my answer at the time was being at a part of a Jewish youth group that I was in called BBYO.
I'm familiar.
Are you familiar? So I joined this youth group young. It's really a high school youth group, but I joined in middle school because my siblings were older. So I got to kind of hang out. That's where I met Jared. That's where I met a lot of my best friends. That's where I learned leadership. That's where I learned, you could say, public speaking, planning, achieving, failure. I had so much exposure at such a young age to these things that were later professionally just immense catalysts and advantages. You know, I get into the real estate business and someone said, hey, you got to go to this group called CMG, Commercial Marketing Group. That's where everyone goes to network and share deals and whatnot. So if you're going to do this, you got to go there. They met at the country club. And in short order, someone said, hey, you should run for the board. And I ran for the board. I'm the youngest guy there by at least 20 years. And I know Robert's Rules of Order. Where did I learn Robert's Rules of Order? I learned it in AZA running business meetings, and I had a Robert's Rules of Order. It's such an obscure thing. I had a Robert's Rules of Order book, and I know parliamentary procedure and this little thing that we practice every single week in this youth group on how you run a meeting and how you go through and what is a motion and how you call for dissent and all this stuff that I'm now expressing as a young kid on this board. And everyone's like, whoa, I got noticed. And I got laddered up that organization, which got me to Commercial Alliance. And I laddered up that organization. And like, so that one thing in this context, you know, you could say my parents, you could say my wife, you could say my kids. But when Aaron asked the question, this was the answer. And because I thought it was such an impactful and interesting question, it's the one question I ask everybody on the podcast.
Him, we're doing something wrong. We said family, he said business. That's why he's the CEO.
There's no wrong.
I don't.
There's no right. It's just an interesting question. It's a hard question to answer because most people have numerous events or things that have occurred. Sometimes it's trauma. Sometimes it's positive. Sometimes it's meeting a certain mentor. I could answer the question the same as you and talk about my wife and what that did for me as a person, not just professionally, but also as a person. Of course, the kids. I mean, you know, when you talk to someone and they're saying something and like your brain starts to want to interject or answer or participate, it's like, it's always the kids that come in. So at this point, you look back and it's like, what's the most influential? It's hard. It's a hard question to answer.
It's interesting you say negative, right? You guys said positive and negative. Before, you know, if you would ask me this question 10, 15 years ago, the answer would have been when I didn't get into my first choice at school.
Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Were you saying Michigan wasn't your first choice?
It was not.
Oh.
And I'm very thankful.
They're going to hear this. You realize that.
What was your first choice?
So I applied early decision to Emory in Atlanta. And two other of my friends in my friend group got in. I did not. And I was devastated.
What did that do to you?
It taught me that, you know, through bad, there could be good. And so I look at myself now and I think my life would have been completely different, right? And even though I was devastated that day, and it was one of the worst days that I thought of my life at the time, it was the best thing that ever happened to me.
And that's awesome.
You had to share the negative story. Now I feel like
You don't have to do anything.
No.
If you want to.
No, it's interesting because I would probably put it at COVID. That was that was a jolt to the system to me. I had already been growing and kind of transitioning, but I remember you said the word essential, and I remember being deemed non-essential and like what that felt like. And it was like, okay, for the next 6 months, you go home because you're not as much needed. Now, I understand that that's not what they were meaning behind that. And I understand that bars are not the best places to be when there's a pandemic going on, but it was a jolt. It was a jolt. So I remember that. And that's a very life shifting moment. Like, okay, what's next? What's next?
So let's talk about what's next in the sense we put a pin in your stories at the points each of you decided I want to get into commercial real estate. So now pick up from there and say, what caused you to consider commercial real estate as a career?
So I'll take this one first.
Sure.
So again, walking around Rebs, kind of getting familiar with it, but there is some history there. I have family that's been in this business. My grandfather's a developer down in southern Utah, and he's been a very monumental person in my life, persuaded me in a lot of ways. And I always enjoyed listening to his stories, even growing up, and talking about his deals and things of that nature. And so when this opportunity presented itself, when I started hearing the words commercial real estate again, I hadn't even thought about it. But when I started hearing those words, I was like, oh, that's what a very important person in my life does. I'll go look at this. And then again, I ended up with you guys, and that's where things kind of started to click. I don't want to say it felt natural, but it did feel like it came to me easier because I knew a lot of these words and what they meant, triple net leases and commercial being, most people when you say real estate, they think immediately of residential. And I didn't. I immediately thought of a strip mall because that's what he developed was strip malls. So that's kind of what led to that.
Mr. Green?
It's interesting, right? Because for me, it's always been sitting behind a desk, tethered to the desk, being of a meeting and whatnot. And I was working even the last job, not back to investment banking of the early, but this was still an investment banking job. I was working a lot. And I told them I was leaving. They asked me to stay for a couple months, so I did. And then I was just trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And like you said earlier, I wanted to be able to control my lifestyle, and I wanted to be able to control when I worked, how much I worked. And I felt I needed to find a career where the amount of work I put in would be reciprocated in terms of benefits, both professionally and personal. And I didn't want to be beholden to my job. And I just met my wife, Molly. And so it was very important to find something that fit that structure. And so I reached out to Jared Katz. I actually worked with his wife starting in 2005. She was at the same casino company I was at. But there's a lot of other similarities that I've known him through this person or that person. And I said, Jared, let's go to lunch. I'm thinking about getting into commercial real estate. I actually texted him. He's like, let's go to lunch. So I went to Nora's and he sat me down and he told me flat out, you should not do this. You're 40 years old. I don't want you to come to me in a couple of years. You're not making any money. I can't pay for my mortgage. All the stressors. He said, I think you'd be good at it. You have a different, viewpoint from the financial perspective, but this is a tough grind. But you should talk to Hayim. So Hayim and I had lunch. We went to Eggworks on Rainbow. Same kind of conversation. You'd be good at this, but you should not do this. And the three of us had lunch, and you both said, please don't do this. It's a big change, right? And you're not going to make a lot of money in your first couple of years. And so you have to be prepared for that it's, every business I've been in has a different language, right? And there's certain businesses you could learn really quickly and be successful. This is not one of them. You have to learn the language. You just need time in the seat to understand. I don't know. I couldn't sell a building 7 years ago by myself because I wouldn't know all the intricacies of doing that. And so I had to take a long, hard look. And so Molly and I talked about a lot. We did the handwriting assessment that we do at MDL Group because I got to speak to the guy because I wasn't really a part like applying for the job. 2 hours speaking to this guy and same thing. You should not do commercial real estate. You're not going to be good at it. You'll be good once you get a client, but not. And he was 100% right. Like, I don't like we're the complete opposites. This guy can talk to anyone. go out and spend an hour and get like 800 leads. I'm not that person. And so it was another big leap. I mean, I think of myself, it's weird. Like I was just thinking about when we started, like I made a huge leap of faith kind of moving out here, but not knowing anyone. Same thing into commercial real estate. And you guys were right. I mean, Molly and I talked a lot about it. We said, look, if you're going to work hard, let's make an investment in yourself. We know it's going to be a challenge for a couple of years. And you guys were spot on. It took a while to make some money. The first couple of years were lean. Then going into COVID was really my second year in commercial real estate. But it's paid off.
Wives. Oh, sorry.
No.
But wives keep coming up. I had to lean on mine pretty heavily these last couple of years. Absolutely. And having that there makes it obviously easier, but man, you're not kidding when you say like you're not going to make any money. And it's not that you're not going to make any money. It's that you're going to put those long hours in and not make any money on top of that. And it's the opposite of instant gratification. It's like, no, like you're really going to bear down on this for a long time before you actually start to somewhat get your reins in this.
But once, they said 3 to 5 years is what you guys said. You're not going to make serious money in 3 to 5 years. And they were right. And so as long as you understood that it was going to be time in the seat, you need to learn. I remember sitting on the bullpen like first couple months and like a couple of brokers were out there talking. They're like, well, what do you think this should be? Like, oh, it's $275 a foot or if we're leasing like two. I'm like, how do they know that? Right? It's just time in the seat, learning and understanding and listening and understanding market dynamics that you just can't get immediately. There's nothing you can do to speed it up.
Mm-hmm. How many years in were you before you could be like, oh, $275 a foot? I feel like you were dead on.
3 to 4 years.
3 to 4 years.
Where you knew what you were talking about. Like, you
right.
can wing it, but
when I was young, someone said like to be successful in this business, you have to have market knowledge, product knowledge, and a client and a book of business. So clientele. And each of those, it sounds simple when I say it like that. Oh, market knowledge, product knowledge, and a book of business. You have to have not just market knowledge today, but like over time.
Historical.
What was it? What moves it? Why does it move? How does it move? And market knowledge is different than product knowledge. You talk about shopping centers that your grandfather developed.
Mm-hmm.
Are they grocery anchored centers? Are they neighborhood strip centers? Are they on the going home side of the street? Are they going to work side of the street? All that's product knowledge for retail specifically, which has no bearing on what we do, which is office.
Mm-hmm.
And there's dozens and dozens of other things to learn under market knowledge, product knowledge, and you have to develop a book of business, which means sales, marketing, and sales. You have to have skill sets in marketing, sales, finance, law. What else? Construction, people. I'm missing a few, I'm sure. But like you have to have
environmental,
right?
Zoning law. I mean,
you have to know so much to be able to take a transaction from A to Z.
Especially if you're dealing with a client who is not an institutional client, who this might be their first transaction and holding their hand through the whole thing. So if you're not comfortable with it, they're not going to be comfortable with you doing it. So getting to the point where you can say, this is the steps, these are steps, 1 through 10, and being able confident that you can get to steps 1 to 10. You don't get caught on like step 6 or 7.
Right.
See what you did? Took you a second.
My son.
I threw that in for
6, 7
for Tabby and Lainey. Although they'll never listen to
this,
so it doesn't
roll
matter.
their eyes when they hear it.
Yeah. I never realized how often we say 6 or 7 in my life until these last few weeks.
Terrible.
It's hilarious.
All right, let me gush on you both and share more about why I talk about you guys and give you guys as an example. So you already alluded to a lot of it. So here you are in commercial real estate. Took a lot of guts, took a huge leap of faith, 20 years of experience in one industry, one field, the know-how. You have an established family, not just that you're used to a certain lifestyle and a certain income, and you have a choice. Like the choice was don't do this and grind for 3 to 5 years. It's go get another job similar to what you're doing, and you're already good. I mean, you're already making really good money. However, there was the other things you're talking about: control on your time, control on your effort, so to speak. And I remember saying it's going to be 3 to 5 years, but if you make it, there's no better industry to be in. You'll never miss a dance recital, a cheer practice, anything. And that was attractive. But you did it. You didn't just say, I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to try it. I mean, you were committed. It was dark. It was lean. There was COVID in between. You pushed through, and here you are 7-ish years later.
Okay.
And you, I mean, we met at the career fair. We talked about that. I remember you were sitting right there, and I explained, you asked me a question. Here's how I remember it anyway. You asked, how do I get into this business? And I said, well, there's kind of 2 ways. Go get a job, W-2, salary, sort of. You get a paycheck. You're either going to be an analyst or a marketing assistant or something like that. Your foot's in the door. You'll meet some people, you'll learn some things, and then you can sort of self-direct where you want to go. Or go get your real estate license. You didn't have it at the time.
Yeah.
You'll be a 1099. You're a sales guy. You kill what you eat. You're going to get no paycheck. You're probably going to make no money in your first year, or very little anyway, if you're lucky enough to not just catch a deal, but complete a deal and get paid on a deal in your first year. And you texted me that night and said, hey, I signed up for real estate school. That's how I remember it.
Yeah. If I remember you almost telling me though, like, go get your real estate license. And I was like, yeah, okay.
It's funny how you heard it, right?
Right.
I remember what I thought I said.
No, I think what
I
you
said there's
said
2
was,
paths, and which one's for you? We did talk a little bit about mindset, and there's people, I've done this enough now and we talked about personality assessments and whatnot.
mm-hmm.
There's no right and wrong in what I'm about to say. It's just what it is. When you look at the population there, and everything's on a spectrum, there are people in the population that find security. They feel a sense of security of, I'm going to go get a job and I'm going to earn a paycheck, and every 2 weeks it's going to come.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are people who believe their security is tied to what I can do, what I control, and what I can affect. And if I have to show up to that job and get a paycheck, I don't control any of that, and it can be taken away from me, versus I'm going to do it myself. And now you might say that person's insane.
Yeah.
Because there's no guarantee. There is no security unless you make it happen. But something inside of you and your wiring says, no, I believe more that I can make it happen than I'm going to rely on someone else to make it happen for me.
Mm.
And there's maybe something kind of in the middle. I mean, you're sort of like, you can go get a job. You can earn a good amount of money and maintain a lifestyle. However, you wanted control on your time and your lifestyle, and were willing to work the extra and the harder. You have the work ethic to make it, and then have sort of both. Now, a lot of people talk about, I want to be in commercial real estate, or I want to be in real estate. And I try my best not to talk them out of it per se, but to just here's the good, the bad, and the ugly. And bigger emphasis on the bad and the ugly, because I never want someone to say to me, well, you sold me. I also remember being in the, early on, and some guy was interviewing at another investment sales firm. We're not going to say which one. And the managing director, the recruiting guy at the time, he just gave him a line. He's like, look, you can sell that building tomorrow and earn whatever. I was like, no, you can't. Maybe in an anomaly, kind of a freak situation, but that's not the reality. The reality is you're going to grind. You're going to have to learn a lot, do a lot, touch a lot, say yes a lot to things, put yourself out there a lot, be very uncomfortable. A lot of the weird that we talk, a lot of weird stuff you do. And if you do enough of that, and you are good, you have to be capable still, then yeah, there's a living on the other side of this thing. But it's not just gonna happen.
Definitely not.
That's how I remember it. All right, what's the first deal you remember doing all by yourself?
I remember the first deal I did. I don't know if it was completely by myself, but the first deal I did, I started here in November of 18, and you assigned me to a landscaping company, which, as people in the industry know, is not very easy. It took 6 or 7 months. No, seriously, that was actually.
The title of this episode will be 6 or 7.
Took 7 or 8 months to find them a spot, and I don't think that was all on my own. I mean, I definitely had some guidance.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Did you cash a check on that deal?
I did. It was my.
Do you remember how much it was?
It was a couple grand. It wasn't a lot. I mean, after the splits and all that other stuff, it wasn't a lot.
Glamorous.
I mean, you talk about not. I mean, I tell this people all the time. My first full year in commercial, 2019, I made just over $12,000 for the year net. It's like net or gross? I don't know. Not a lot. And so I'm not ashamed to say that, right?
Mhm.
Like it's not a living wage. And so it's not for the faint of heart, right? You really have to commit to it.
And that's why when you have someone at home, it's a joint decision.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I don't remember, we did talk about this. If you don't have support at home,
Forget
it's
it.
virtually hopeless, because people outside of what we do don't understand what you have to do to make it. And I remember our wives, Jared and mine, when he and I partnered up in 2007, we'd go home like, oh, what'd you do again? Did you make another list? They would joke because we kept making lists. What'd you do today? Well, I made a list. What do you mean you made a list? I made a list. We'd make a list of properties. We'd go on the assessor site, make a list of properties, take a photo of it. We'd go walk from, he'd go on one end, I'd go on the other.
Mm-hmm.
And I had the aerial, so I knew this is building 2517. I'm walking in. I take the business cards. I do the weird stuff. Hi, how are you? I don't want to bother you. If you got a property, I'm trying to, do you need more space? Do you need less space? Do you mind if I take a card? And I'd write on the building roof, this is this company, and then this one, this company. And we did that. We'd go back to our office. Any follow-ups that maybe we got a lead, maybe not, but we'd catalog it and then make another list the next day. And our wives would joke, oh, did you make another list? How about any money? Did you make any money? No money. Kevin Buckley and Dave Johnson, we did this podcast. They're now 30 some odd years into the industry. They shared what they each earned in their first year. And it's virtually the same as what people earn. It's between, call it $15,000 and $30,000.
Mm-hmm.
It was back then, it was the same as it is now. And that's just the reality. What was your first deal?
The first deal?
Either first or first one you did by yourself.
So I actually, I'll talk about the first one I did by myself, because you kind of just hit on it there. I heard that from you and Jared many a time. You got to go out there and you got to talk to people. And it's weird. We keep saying it's weird. It's weird just to walk into someone's business and say, I'd like to help you find some real estate. It's not how you do it, but I was sitting in the office. I just got my license. We just picked it up, and I looked at Buck. I said, Buck, what do you do? And he goes, you got to go out there and burn holes in the bottom of your feet. And that clicked because you had already told me it 3 or 4 times. And so I was like, okay. And so I got up in that moment and I went and I found a random industrial complex and I walked in, and that was the first time I walked around. And by the end of that day, I actually had my first client who would go on, and that would be the first deal that I would work on my own. I had already done some that you guys have brought to me, but that one always stands out because that one I went out, I found it, we found him a place, we did the lease, and I got paid. And it was all just one, not smooth system, but one system.
What kind of company was it?
They did 3D printing shirts.
How much was your check?
$800. $800. But you know what? I was damn proud of that $800 because I think you talked about it once, house cat versus going out and finding it. And that one, I was really proud of that one because I went out and I found that one. There's nothing wrong with getting stuff with your brokerage. That's not what I'm saying, but it feels good when you go out and you catch something and you bring it home.
Absolutely. So 7 years, 2.5 years ish. Tell me a story or give me an example of how you have gone above and beyond the norm to help a client.
I can start on this one. So I have a great client actually. I got connected with him through Buck. I was fed this lead, and he was auto body. He's coming out of Van Nuys, California. So he came out here, and obviously it's hard to find automotive. And that's where I was kind of finding myself gravitating towards. But we were going from place to place. The rates were really high. This is 23, so everything is still really tight in the industrial sector. And we are looking around, and we're not getting anywhere. We're doing this for probably 6 months. I was about to say 6 or 7.
Don't say it. It's already played out in the real world, and I think I already played it out in this one. So,
and so we're not having any luck. And he eventually switched to pivoting. He's like, I just want to buy something. He's like, if I'm going to spend this much, I just want to buy something. We ended up finding something. It took about a year total. And that's not the part where it went above and beyond. But there at the very end, he was like, would you mind helping me out? I'm in a new market. would you mind helping me find some accounts for my business? He's bringing some of his other business from the outside world. But he was like, do you know anybody? And I was like, I actually know a few people. And I went out and I found him several accounts, sitting in North Las Vegas and a couple other things that he could work with his body shop. And I talk to him almost every day still. He's a really, really awesome guy. He's out of LA, but now it's amazing how often your clients can become your friends in this business. It really is. And I've been over to his house in LA, and every time he comes out, we go to dinner. So that's one of those moments where I was like, okay. And it was an opportunity to learn, to be honest with you. And it's helped me in my real estate business when it comes to going and walking around. Anytime you learn how to sell a service to somebody, you're doing yourself a favor in this business.
How about you?
This one's a tough one because I feel like we do a lot of above and
It's
beyond.
like, what is above and beyond?
Yeah.
Question.
I mean, perfect example is we're leasing a property. It's close by my house. The client that we have spends half the time here and half the time in another part of the country. So they're not always here to look over their property. And so I would go by and check it. Notice that when we went in there, it was during the summer. It's very hot. And what was wrong? The batteries were missing or dead in the thermostat. I didn't have to do anything, but next time I was there, took some batteries and changed the batteries on the thermostat. Simple things, right? But treating and caring for the properties that they're not yours, you don't own them, but like you would own them. And so just making it easier for the clients, little things.
So team versus teaming. So in this industry, it used to be that people were lone wolves. You get in, you're just a single broker, you have your own clients. The industry has shifted to teams. Clients expect that you're on a team, that you have a team for coverage, for skill sets, for a lot of different things. When you're new in the business and you're learning on your own and you're not immediately on a team, which is also kind of rare apparently, you build until you get to a point where you need a team or you kind of start teaming up with others. So team versus teaming. You're Green, you are on a team. There's 3 of us and we have a team coordinator. So there's 4 total. If a check comes through the door, we know our percentages. It doesn't matter who brought it in, who worked on it. It's fixed. That's one model. Jerdin, you're teaming. You're really on your own, except you will team up with others in the office on assignments for various reasons. So each of you talk about that.
Yeah, I think for this business, there's benefits of both, right? Teaming, you can get to control your splits. You get to control with who and what you work on, and you really have flexibility. From the team aspect, it's obviously splits are going to be less. So production has to be higher for you to, get the income that you want or desire to have. But I've always liked working in teams. I like the camaraderie. I like, I think for our team specifically, I think we have a good mix of seasoned, middle, and young, right? You're obviously the seasoned professional. You've been
I thought I was young.
No, unfortunately not. And I think it's great because, while I don't have the real estate experience like you do, right? I have other experience sitting across the tables from CEOs, CFOs. So me being in certain meetings with people are different than someone who's starting in the business.
Let me give it a real life example that I remember. So we have a great client here. They've got multiple properties. We manage pretty much all of them. We lease a bunch of them. They had a vacancy in one of their office buildings, and they had a tenant that wanted to move into the vacancy. So they were going from, I can't remember, I think it was like 4,000 or 5,000 square feet to 8,000 square. And then there was another component. Maybe there's a different tenant that wanted to take a portion of the. So it was something that, again, thinking like an owner, we were going to be meeting with the ownership group, and I knew what I wanted to see on the paper. And I probably could have fumbled my way through it. But you and I sat for 2 seconds and I said, all right, we need to look at this 4 different ways. That it needs to be like scenario 1, the tenant does this and we give them this much money in tenant improvements. That scenario 2 is we accept this tenant for this much square feet. We try to do this tenant for this one. It was like 4 different scenarios so that we can put it in front of the owner in a way where they can look at it and make a decision. A lot of what we do is we call it called decision support. I have all the information. I can package it in a way to help you just make a decision. And this was one of those greatest examples. And I remember you gave me like in literally 2 seconds, you're like, okay, here's what I got. I'm like, okay, just change this and this and this and that. 2 seconds later, the client was like, it was one of those things where the client is, we're meeting them in 45 minutes and this has to be client ready. And it was pretty complicated. And it's like second nature to you. I would not have been able to do it in that amount of time. I would have been like scribbling on a piece of paper and like, we sat down. I remember the client looked at it and was like, he looked at his partner and was, do you see why we're with MDL Group? Do you see like it's an easy decision. And they went with whatever it was scenario. So that's an example where like teaming.
I think
being
that,
on a team
but I also
with
think
skill
that
sets.
we all bring different experiences, right? And you look at all the different aspects that we have. I mean, Luke, right? He's the young one, but anything technology related or all this, anything we need that he just does it.
Because it's second nature.
It's second nature, and that's what he grew up on, right? And I just think that there's mentorship both ways, so 360. Like you mentor me a lot, I mentor Luke a lot.
Mentor me, and so does he.
Right, and so like I'll come to you with questions on things that some are good, some are not. But then I speak with Luke on a daily basis. Hey, what do you think about this? How should we do this? And just everyone's experience. You take the 3 of it and it really helps the client. We try to give the client the best option and scenarios of working through the decision.
Teaming.
I really like that word teaming, by the way. When you get your real estate license, they say you're ready to do real estate. But no, I mean, you've got some fundamentals.
The process of going to real estate school is you sign up for like Key Realty or one of these other things.
Right.
It takes maybe 30 days. They prepare you to pass a test.
Correct.
So you do learn some things, like when was the last year that they used lead-based paint? The thing I use the most from real estate school is how many square feet in an acre. I use that all the time. I remember learning that in real estate school, but virtually not much else.
And they even admit it. They even admit that we're just teaching you to pass the test.
Right.
And so with that means that you got to go out in the world and you got to start figuring this out. Now, you tell me that it used to be a very lone wolf industry, and that honestly blows my mind because I can't imagine having gone out with that limited knowledge and said, okay, like I'm going to start guiding people through their real estate transactions and literally $1 million decisions for their business. And so teaming starts to make sense, especially if you're lucky enough like we are here to kind of have that group camaraderie where you find someone, a mentor that can kind of guide you through some of those deals, and they even feed you some of those deals, but without making that full commitment to being on a team. I see the benefits to both. I do. But for me, I enjoy teaming because it still gives me that motivation to go out and find some of my own stuff and start to work on that. But quite frankly, it's going to make sense to work with other people on a lot of different things, especially when you don't know. And it's a great opportunity to build relationships with the people you work with. This is a team sport, and I can see why it navigated that way. I can't imagine, just being a one-man show. So teaming works really well. Plus, like we said, I'm still in school. And if I'm going to be part of a team, I want to feel like I can contribute fully to that team. I don't ever partnerships break down when people feel like the other people in the group aren't contributing equally. And it's too ripe of a situation for me to be like, sorry guys, I have to disappear for a week for finals. So I can't be a part of this. That wouldn't sit well with me. So it makes more sense to team with people when it's appropriate and when not to. Now, maybe later on down the road, there can be exceptions to that. But
let's kind of bring it to life. So in 2.5 years, I've done a deal with you.
Mm-hmm.
Jared, I know, has done a deal with you.
Mm-hmm.
Buck, you mentioned, has done a deal with you.
Mm-hmm.
You and Miles have done
Mm-hmm.
many deals together.
Brendan,
You've brought us deals. You've done deals with Brendan,
Kenneth.
But
Espen. Well, me and Espen haven't closed one yet, but we're on two
You're
together.
working on one with Espen.
Yeah. And try to get a deal with everybody in the office. Luke, you guys' team.
Yeah.
So that's why I think when you say teaming I'm be biased, but I think teaming at MDL Group is very different than teaming in a lot of other places because we all collaborate. And at the end of the day, I know you do a lot with Miles, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm 100% sure if it's your thing that you're leading and you have to go to school, Miles will pick it up.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Absolutely.
Or if someone else needs something, anyone else will pick it up in the company and not expect anything in return.
Absolutely.
Right? We've all done it. At the end of the day, we're all going to be better for it.
We had a coworker unexpectedly in 2025 in the hospital in the middle of a deal. I think all the terms were basically negotiated. Now someone has to draft the lease. Someone has to coordinate
the contractor,
the tenant, the contractor, all the things. And we all rallied. Several of us kind of rallied. We got the deal done. We got it executed. We got the tenant moved in. We got the commission from the landlord, and we didn't take a penny because we just did it for our coworker who couldn't finish it on their own because they were in the hospital.
Yeah, I hear stories. I've never worked with them, but I've heard other stories of other brokerages where it doesn't sound like it's like that. Someone even told me a white noise machine to protect your deals. I've never once felt like someone here was going to steal my deal. We've
always felt like this. It's a hard enough business outside of these walls. It's competitive. I say that, but we have a lot of good colleagues in the industry, but it's a competitive business. We go after the same kind of things. So it's fine for it to be competitive out there. The only kind of competition that should be inside of these walls is a collaborative one. The one that makes me a little more energetic because, I want to edge you out a little bit or you want to edge me out. But not the kind of competition where I have to lock my files because I'm afraid you're going to come in here and steal a deal off my desk. Because that, frankly, life's too short. You talked a lot about culture and the kind of people that you're on. If I have to lock my door or my files or hide things or flip over the things so you don't see who I'm working with, what the hell am I doing here? How much energy is it worth sitting on the back of your neck thinking about that stuff? So we just don't tolerate it. All right, Green, what advice would you give Jerdin now that you're a seasoned vet at 7 years and he's approaching, knocking on the door of year 3?
Just continue learning, right? Like Hayim said, there's so many different aspects of the business. And so I'm still learning every day. Just continue to learn. And as much as you put in, you're going to get out of it. So, just grind.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned 360 degrees of mentoring. So that you mentor him, you're an up and comer, vibrant, prosperous. What advice would you give this old timer right here sitting next to you?
He's not an old timer.
Stretch before you do anything.
This one I would say is more about surround yourself, and we do this pretty well here, but continue to surround yourself with younger people. Just because this one's been breaking through to me quite often. I have a lot of friends who didn't pivot out of the industry formally, and
of the hospitality industry. Yeah.
And when I talk to them about AI, they're like, I've used it once in my entire life. And I think about that, and it's such a monumental shift.
Mm-hmm.
And to think that they're not using it in their regular lives. And I specifically blame that by being surrounded by kids younger than me at UNLV and being in school at this time. And that's the only reason I'm adopting this technology so quickly. And so that would probably be my advice. Continue to surround yourself with people younger than you, because they bring a lot to the table that you don't even realize. They make your life easier and you had no idea.
There's another thing that happens when you teach somebody something, like when a young agent comes and asks you a question and now you have to transfer knowledge. It solidifies it for you or reminds you that you went through this and you've learned it and you know it and now you're transferred. There's something that happens when that back and forth occurs.
Mm.
And then, of course, I'm teaching. I thought I was pretty good with AI. I have this certain task that takes me 45 minutes to do each time through various prompts and whatnot. I asked the team for some help. 100%, no edits, no nothing, no changes. Like, how long did this take you? 10 minutes. It's like, I got to learn your prompting method versus mine, apparently.
There are questions that I ask it sometimes they won't answer. And then one of our younger brokers in the office is like, you just got to know how to massage it.
Yeah.
And gets the
You
answer
got to
right.
tell it like this, not like that. I
Right.
didn't know that. All right. Share something that you believed before you got into commercial real estate or as you were getting into commercial real estate that ended up being totally wrong, as if like your expectations were just completely off around it.
That it would be miserable the first 2 years. I knew I wouldn't make any money, but there was like almost this token, this notion that it's going to suck. And maybe it's here, maybe it's, specific to our brokerage, but I don't feel like it sucked. I actually had a great time while I was learning it. So that myth, I'd throw that out the window. It doesn't suck. It's just different. And if you enjoy learning, you'll love it.
I didn't have any preconceived notions. I kind of went into this thing blind, but I don't know if it's our market specifically, but I really enjoy working and collaborating with not just people at MDL, but at other firms, right? And I don't know who said it to me, but you might have another broker at Colliers who you're doing a deal with a client, and with your client, over the course of your career, you might do 3 or 4 deals with them. And the other broker, you might do 3 or 4 deals a year, maybe more. And so I go on a lot of tours with other brokers who are in the office, and my clients will be like, how do you know about so-and-so's son? Or I was like, because we do a lot of deals together and we cooperate and we learn from each other. And, a lot of times we get deals where there might not be a broker on the other side. And you know what? I'd rather do it with a broker I'm going to make less money, but I'd rather do it with a seasoned veteran who knows what they're doing just to make it easier.
No.
At the end of the day, the extra couple points on the deal doesn't matter. I'd rather have security that the deal's going to get done than have to go at it alone. And I feel like in our community, it's like that. There's not that many commercial brokers in our town, and you deal a lot with the same. And it's not worth being, negative or fighting with another broker or territorial. Like, there's enough in this market to go around for everyone to be successful. So just make it easier.
You guys ready for some rapid fire takeaways?
Sure. I don't think we have a choice.
Yeah.
No choice.
Why do they got to be rapid fire?
Because you got to answer fast.
Huh.
Because we're starting to land the plane. How long do you think we've been sitting here talking? Just out of curiosity.
30, 45 minutes?
It's an hour and 45 minutes.
Did we start right at 2?
Is there a clock over there that I can't see?
We're knocking on the door of 2 hours.
Is there a clock that I
I
can't
have
see?
one right there behind you.
Hmm.
You have one on your wrist, but you're so polite. You haven't even looked once.
Now
It
you
goes
said
by
that,
fast,
and now
right?
I got to look.
All right. What's one thing people or prospective clients get wrong about commercial real estate?
That they can go at it alone. Just like anything else in real estate, even buying a house, would you go and buy a house without an expert? And so in commercial real estate, people think they know better, or they have some experience that have done one deal, that they're like, oh, this is easy. A lot of times people also don't realize, this goes hand in hand, is that when you're on the lesser, you're looking for you're a tenant or you're a buyer, there's no cost to you. So like, oh, I don't want to spend money to get this deal done. This is what we do for a living, right? We know how to negotiate. We know all the deal points. We know how to get the maximum amount of a negotiation. So you can definitely do it by yourself, but I think using a commercial real estate broker just makes sense. Like, I wouldn't go to court without a lawyer. I wouldn't buy a house without a real estate agent, a residential real estate agent. And I think the same thing goes. I think people are afraid that they, I don't know what I'm doing, so I don't want to look, I don't want to look stupid or whatnot. But it's just a profession that helps people get the best result for them.
What would you say people get wrong or prospective clients get wrong?
That say I'm looking to purchase or that I'm looking to lease a space, I'm just going to go straight to the listing broker because I'm going to get a better deal if I work directly with him. I remember thinking that myself when it came to, no, I'll go to the listing broker. He makes more money, so he's going to work twice as hard to get this deal done. Get your own representation.
What actually happens then?
I mean, what actually happens is the percentages are dead set from the beginning. Now, there might be a slight break in there, but what ends up happening is you're going to be talking with someone who is going to be representing the seller or the lessor, and you're quite frankly not going to have someone advocating on your behalf. I'm not saying they're going to be dirty by any means, but they have a duty to that client. You need someone who has a duty to you.
Yeah, this is something that's overlooked. Like negotiations are negotiations.
Mm-hmm.
And when, in your example, when we are representing a buyer, we're going to write an offer anchoring a certain way, and we know the different levers that we can pull, and maybe price is more important or maybe something else is more important, but we're going to structure it in a way to get maximum interest, not like percentage interest, like the client's, what's important to you. I want to move the deal as close to your favor as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And when you go direct, that is just not happening.
Right.
Period. End of story. And the commissions, you're right. They think, oh, I'm going to save 3%. They're going to give me 3% better deal. That's just not, it never happens.
Right.
What does it take to be successful in this business? What are the ingredients? You guys kind of talked about them, but what's the one or two?
Hard work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Knowing that you have to put in a lot of time, with the understanding that you might work on a deal for 2 years and it not come to fruition, and you're not getting paid for that. So understanding that's one of them. I lost my train of thought on the other.
I'll jump in. There's not just one type of person for this business. I think you hit on the fact you said, oh, you can go out and you can talk to people and get 8 leads. I appreciate that, but I'm nowhere
800.
Okay, I appreciate that, but I'm nowhere near as structured and organized as you are, and I feel like you can actually get these deals over the finish line because you're going to have a more direct path. And I think that's just the ebb and flow of what's beneficial to people. So there's not just one type of person who can succeed in this business.
Did your other thing come to you or no?
What was the question again?
What does it take to be successful? What are the secret ingredients?
Oh, successful. So I think the other part is not getting upset when you get rejected, because you're going to get rejected a lot in this business. You're going to do deals and negotiations and not go your way, but just being able to put that behind you and just get to the next deal. And it's not personal, right? I mean, we're dealing with people's financial livelihood.
Mm-hmm.
And so that also goes back to, like, not being able to do it the first couple of years. You also don't want to take on that risk of doing something wrong and someone's using half of their life savings to buy a business for a building for their business, and you fuck it up. You don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I just want to second that. That's a really good one. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So take failure in stride and keep going.
Is there a piece of life advice you give disproportionately to others?
Not sure I quite understand that question.
Like when you're giving advice to people, is there one piece of life advice that you would give more than you give any other life advice?
Yeah, work hard. Work hard. Nobody's going to give you anything. So just keep going.
That's what you say all the time?
I do. I say that quite often. I say it to my children all the time. Work hard. No one's going to give you anything. No one's coming. Go out there and get it.
What's yours?
I have a couple, but I mean, life's all about compromises, right? And making choices that you have to weigh the outcome of each one. And sometimes the compromise isn't something you want to do, but it's in the long run, it's beneficial.
Books or podcasts?
Both.
Books.
Which two?
Which two that I would recommend?
Yeah, well, you said books. Let's start with your 2 books.
The 4 Agreements and Berkshire After Buffett. Right? Did I say that wrong?
I think you said it right.
I think I said it right. There's a lot of B's there, but yeah. Both of those books. Those 4 Agreements, integrity, don't assume. Oh, that one is a monumental in this business. Do not make assumptions. You think that your client vanished and bought another building with someone else and he's gone and he's just watching his kid's hockey game. So don't assume.
Don't take things personally.
Right.
Be impeccable with your word.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the 4? Or is it the...
Be impeccable with your word. Don't assume. Don't take things personally. Why do I feel like we're missing one then?
You said integrity, but I think that's being impeccable with your word. This book, by the way, so when you look at like, you talk to successful business people that you know, and like what are the critical books you read? Good to Great, Man's Search for Meaning, and the Four Agreements. I mean, there's others, but like Four Agreements is one of those.
Mm-hmm.
What do you have? Give us 2 books and 2 podcasts.
2 books. First book is Never Split the Difference. It's a great one. I've used some of those techniques and you're like, wow, it actually works. I would say that it's just a book that I read for pleasure, but Night People by Mark Ronson. I read it recently, or
never heard
book
of that.
on tape.
About?
Mark Ronson is a DJ. He's done a lot of music, written a lot with you would know his songs. And so he grew up in New York, privileged. He came from a family that had some money and his parents were in the music industry, but it was his struggle and finding his path in the DJ world in New York City in the late 80s, early 90s. And so there were people in the book that I'm familiar with, that I know of, just being in New York. I was not part of that DJ scene, but I knew a lot of the venues that he talked about, and just also the detail that he talked about when he was going, on a Saturday afternoon to some random record store and filing through the crates and knowing what he was looking for because he needed to match music that had the same beats. And it was just fascinating. It was a book on tape. He actually read it himself. He's a DJ. His sister, Samantha, Sam Ronson's a DJ. He does a lot of work with Bruno Mars. He's written a lot of songs, a lot of famous people. And it was just fascinating.
2 podcasts.
Smartless, which I love. I listen to that every week. I listen to The Daily as well every day. It's kind of how I start my day. Interesting stories, politics, sports, run the gamut. And it's 30 minutes and it just starts my day off learning something new.
What one restaurant in Las Vegas would you recommend?
That's hard. We have so many different
restaurants. First one that came to mind.
First date with my wife was Nora's, so that one always pops up.
I thought you were going to say Chubby Cattle because that's where you told me to go.
Chubby Cattle is absolutely amazing. Herbs and Rye, you could go on and on, but Nora's is the first one that pops up. That was me and my wife's first date. It was in the strip mall before they built their building. Absolutely amazing place.
Well, that's where Manzu is.
Yeah, that's right. When we went there for the first Christmas party, we were like, been here before. It's changed a bit, but
there are so many good ones. I couldn't pick a favorite. But if I had to pick a favorite restaurant, yeah, and there's so. I just went to Delilah with my wife for our anniversary. Hard to get into, and it was great experience, great vibe. There's others. I'd mentioned Gitano's because we're there all the time, but you just had both of them on the,
Yeah.
We're there this weekend. Nick's amazing. And the food there is top notch. So that's every time. So that's our default. If we're going to go local, it's going to be Gitano's.
Do you guys prefer on the strip or off the strip for dining?
We do both.
Both.
When we can break away from the kids, we'll do something on the strip. It's nice. We have the best of both worlds, right? We have great local restaurants, as you know, in Spring Mountain, Henderson, Summerlin. They're all great. And then you go to the strip, you're going to pay more, but you feel like,
it's the strip.
It's the strip, and it's worth it. And we have that in our backyard.
Who would you recommend that I reach out to record a future episode of Takeaways and Live?
Luke Ramos.
Yeah.
Because he was, he couldn't participate today, make a threesome. Kind of weird. I don't know. Have you done John Ramos?
No.
What about John and Luke Ramos?
Together? That could be interesting.
I think that would be a great podcast.
All right.
That'd be amazing. That's a hard question. Does it have to be local here to Las Vegas?
Who comes to mind? There's no restrictions here.
Again, that is a really difficult question. I'm trying to think of who, I mean, you had Sean McCoy on?
No.
That would be an interesting one. That would be an interesting one.
And who is Sean McCoy?
Sean McCoy is the director for the real estate program at UNLV. And he is a very gifted professor, and he shapes a lot of young minds. And I think he steers a lot of people in a lot of good directions. And I think that would be very interesting because he's got so much of that early experience coming in.
We were talking earlier about the experience we had going to these UNLV real estate career fairs before and after. It's really before and after Sean. He really has energized this thing in a way where it's meaningful for everybody participating.
I have another one, a threesome, which would be good.
Shoot.
Chris Webber, Tom Brady, and Charles Woodson.
Gentlemen, if you're hearing this, consider it your invitation. All right, ending question. When you think about 2026 and the future of Las Vegas, what are you most excited about?
I think the continued growth. I've been coming to, you're born and raised here, but I've been coming to Vegas since 1999, and it continues to change, continues to adapt, continues to grow, not just from an offering of what the industries here. Obviously, hospitality and gaming was number one. We've completely diversified away, not completely, but we've diversified away from that over the years. Sports is a big industry. There's just continued momentum. When I talk to colleagues around the country, how was your year? It was okay, right? I think Vegas still has a long way to go. We're just approaching 3 million or right around there for population. Still feels like a small town. You need, your degrees of separation here are 1 or 2, right? As opposed to many more in other towns. You can get to anyone pretty much that you need to. And I think people are starting to realize that it's a great place to live.
Yeah.
And so I think our market is also an anomaly, I believe, versus other outside macroeconomic factors. People want to still come here and grow, and it's great for tax reasons. It's great for, quality of life. And I just think it's not just 26, but we're going to continue to grow. And that makes it exciting because it gives us more things to do, both professionally and personally.
What are you excited about when you think about 2026 and beyond for Las Vegas?
So I come from a hospitality background, so I see a couple projects going up on the Strip that people have been talking about for a long time. When I was still in the industries, when we first heard about that guitar-shaped tower in front of what was the Mirage, but is now the Hard Rock, there is a new day club going up in front of Caesar's Palace that they've been talking about for 15 years. There is a baseball stadium going up right on the corner of Tropicana and Las Vegas Boulevard. We have diversified, absolutely, no doubt. And things are going to continue doing that. But that stretch of street in Las Vegas has its history and has its name for a reason. And the more good stuff they do with that, the more optimistic I will become as we keep going. I know we've been hearing a lot about how Vegas is, the tourism's down. We go through things, hospitality is really it shows where your economy's at really early, and it's still growing, and we're going to continue to grow. We're going to continue to learn. And so, yeah, I'm really optimistic for what that stretch of road does and everything and all the benefits that it brings this town.
Same question to you.
What am I excited about? I'm going to sound like a broken record. But people ask me, how are things? And this year, one of the things that got a lot of headlines was hospitality's down. I point to a few things that I watch. One, in 20 years, do we believe the population of Las Vegas will be more than it is now? Good bet. Do we believe that Las Vegas will continue to be an entertainment capital? Entertainment is hospitality, it's gaming, it's also sports now. Do we believe that that'll happen? I think so.
Mm-hmm.
Good bet. And do we believe we will continue to diversify as an economy away, not just the Strip, but additional? We've already done that. That's been a major objective of the city, and it's already occurred. Do we believe it'll continue to occur when we think 20 years from now? I think so. So those three things, I'm eternally optimistic. I mean, this is home. I was born here. I saw how this place has reimagined itself, redeveloped itself, transformed, adapted, all the things you guys said. And as long as we have water, we're good.
Projects don't die in Las Vegas. Like, there's no dead parts of life. I remember watching the bones of downtown Summerlin, the bones of Fontainebleau sit there forever. And those projects didn't die. They were just delayed.
There's a thing about Las Vegas, like growing up here, within the DNA of our city, it's dreamers can build here
Mm-hmm.
and actually bring things to life. And there's stories, obviously up and down the strip, but other places too. I was on the phone today with someone that was introduced to me, a prospective client for real estate. Businesses in Seattle, moving out of Seattle. He said five people he knows from Seattle, business owners, have already moved here. They're living in McDonald Islands, all of them all right next to each other. And all their businesses they're major businesses. It's not like a 2,000 square foot office user or the $800 deal that you got paid on. These are major, like wealth is coming here. It's already here and it's coming. It's going to continue to come here. I mean, it's just, you have the DNA of things just happen here. The Raiders talked about this is a town of yes. Growing up, me as a kid, watching how Steve Wynn is firing cannons from one hotel to another, imploding it. I mean, it's like you're watching the rocket launcher, all these things that you just don't think are possible, but it's possible. It's not just possible. It's like the 1 degree of separation is here. Dreamers can build. The DNA is just different. It's a town of yes. And all the macros, I believe, are going to go in that direction over the next 10 years, 20 years. So I'm totally optimistic.
You forgot one thing. 26. Graduating UNLV.
Graduating UNLV.
That's the most important thing. All the time that you put in, the effort.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big accomplishment.
Can we take a second to shout out UNLV? It's changed so much from when we were younger. The programs they're doing there, the stuff they're building there, the research they're doing there, it's incredible. It's no longer the University of Never Leaving Las Vegas. It is something, it's a destination. There are people coming here. So shout out to UNLV as well.
I had Bo Barnhart on the podcast and I learned a lot from him about all the things that are happening there. He is the right person for the job right now because he can actually tell the story.
Mm-hmm.
And when he starts to tell the story, it's just awing, completely awing what they're doing there. So I'm glad. I was going to ask, is there anything else to add? But that was the last thing to add.
Yeah. No.
Thank you, gentlemen. This has been a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Thanks for doing this. Thank you for listening. I would love to hear from you about your takeaways from this episode. Make sure to leave us a comment or leave us a review. Also, please subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can hear future episodes as they come out. My name is Hayim Mizrahi. Tune in next time.